Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're having a good week. Have you ever come across two more contrasting siblings than Peter and John Fury? Now, I'm sure we've all met siblings, brothers, sisters, and whichever, whether it's a brother and a sister, a brother and a brother, a sister and sister, who they're very, very different, very, very different in attitude, in personality. But if you get to know them, if you know them both, you can sort of see some overlap, maybe one or two vague similarities. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's only because they've been brought up by the same parents. With Peter and John, even though I don't know either, it is difficult to sort of find any common ground whatsoever. They've both been to prison, I suppose. That's about the only thing I can think of. But I'm reminded of those two quotes, or old adages, if you like. One is empty vessels make the most noise, and the other is still waters run deep. And I'll let you guess as to which one would apply to which of the brothers. The sort of bluster and bombacity of John Fury can't be overstated. Whereas with Peter, it's all, you suspect he's got a temper on him and that he can be heavy duty when he has to be. But as I've said before, I think I've said this on videos before, but the one that would concern me the most if I got on the wrong side of them would be Peter, not John, because I think he's probably, if he goes there, then he really goes there. With John, it's all, piss and wind and, spittle and taking his shirt off and punching perspex glasses, perspex barriers, punching those, as Proper Boxing said, when John was whacking that perspex at that YouTube event. He said, "Oh Christ, someone's put 50p in John." That's what it's like. You wind him up and off he goes. Look, I made a video yesterday, and I think a lot of people have commented on this, that John was an absolute pain in the arse in that corner on Saturday. And to be honest with you, Andy Lee was sticking his beak in as well. He should know better. I mean, he's a very good trainer, but the head trainer there on that night was Sugar Hill. And although I've watched the fight a few times now, between rounds, you can only hear bits and pieces because the commentators are talking, but that's the point. You could clearly, even above the commentator, you could clearly hear several voices going on about it. And John's voice, of course, as is always the case, was the loudest. Now, if you're in that corner, you want some, especially if you've suffered a busted nose like Fury did, or you just been knocked down. You want to hear very concise, precise instructions delivered in a calm but assertive manner. And that should have come from Sugar Hill, who knows what he's doing. He's been a head trainer for many years. He trained under Manny Stewart, obviously, and he knows what he's doing. And he was hired to do a job. And John, blustering his way through everything as per normal, with a bit of an echo from Andy Lee, and that couldn't have done Fury any good. Now, can you imagine if Peter Fury had been in charge of that corner and John had stuck his head through the ropes and started jabbering? What do you think Peter would have said? Do you think he'd have put up with that? I would go as far as to say that even though they're brothers, Peter would have spoken to John beforehand, maybe even barred him from the corner, said, no, we need a very sparse corner. I want a couple of people there. I don't think he'd have had Andy Lee there either. But then, of course, if Peter Fury was still training Tyson, chances are Tyson wouldn't have that big entourage. Now, I know they separated because of other reasons. I don't know the details. I'm not going to go into it because I've only heard things and I don't really know what's true and what isn't. So otherwise it would just be a lot of conjecture. But I think if they hadn't had that conflict, Tyson Fury, and with John on his side and Peter on the other side, I think Peter would have only continued to train Tyson if there hadn't been this big entourage. There hadn't been all these yes men hanging around. I know they're a family. But when it comes to fight camp, when it comes to fight night, you need a small group of people. As we, you leave them all in the bloody dressing room if you must have them there. I'm not sure Peter would want them around the gym when he's training Tyson. I definitely don't think he'd want them anywhere near the corner, because I remember seeing, and this doesn't surprise me at all to have heard him say this, but I remember watching an interview with Peter Fury probably about 3-4 years ago, maybe even longer, and he was saying there's one voice in the corner and that's mine. That's it. You only want one voice, and anyone who else is there has to behave themselves. They have to be quiet. So if someone, let's say you do have a second, you're the head trainer and you've got your second there, could be a cuts man, could be just a guy who carries the bucket or whatever, and they see something, they might say during the round, they might say to Peter as head trainer, they might point something out, and Peter would take it on board or discard it. But if it is relevant, if the other second has recognised something, and I can only imagine that Peter would surround himself with very knowledgeable people, Peter is the one who will relay it to the fighter. It won't be a case of as soon as the fighter sits down between rounds, one of the other seconds is chewing his ear off. No, everything goes through the head trainer. That's the way it should be. That's the way I was taught. That's the way I was brought up. And I think the old ways are sometimes the best ways. The old school ways are sometimes the best ways. But a lot of people have also said about John Fury, well, he was always jealous of Sugar Hill. He always wanted to be Tyson's trainer ever since he came out of prison. Again, I've never met the man. I think that's a realistic possibility. Perfectly possible. Jealous of Sugar Hill? Maybe. But here's something I do think, and that is that I don't think Sugar Hill will be back. I would be surprised to see him in the corner with Tyson Fury again. I think there's too much baggage. Fury also made a few sort of veiled references after the fight towards, not being told what the situation was towards the end of the fight. That he was implying that he should have been told by his corner, "You're possibly behind. You need this last round," and so on and so forth. Which that will fall on the head of the head trainer. That's his responsibility after all. So I don't fancy his chances of coming back, Sugar Hill. And to be honest, would you want to, after all these people poking their head in, during that fight, during such an important fight, with, ultra dramatic occurrences throughout that blockbuster of a fight? Your fighter's nose is busted, he's been knocked down, he probably is concussed, and you've got people overriding you, undermining you. I don't think he'll be back. I really don't. Anyway, if you can think of a more contrasting pair of siblings than Peter and John, let me know. Real Cain and Abel stuff, isn't it? But yeah, let me know what you think, if you've got any comments. And as always, thanks for your time. And please subscribe if you're new to this channel. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. And also hit the like button if you don't mind as well. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Later on. Bye for now.